Are you like trying to mock me? I kind of understand.
Hey yo, here we go. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. I said microphone check. 1 2. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to a special edition of Aces Wild Chicago Sports Takes. If you've been living under a rock, you might not realize this time of year there's not usually a lot of Bears conversation going on. But we have ourselves a special season on our hands for the Bears. Bears play the Packers this Saturday night in the wild card round, and I thought what better thing to do than to get my buddy Kyle Malzhan on here to chat about the Packers, about the Bears, about the way the season's gone for both teams. I think it's definitely been a roller coaster in its definition for both teams. But first, before we get started, Kyle, how you doing tonight, man?
Dude, Angelo, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate you. Excited for Saturday. I mean, it's been a long time coming for, the Bears, and I know it's going to be a hostile environment. Looks like there might be some snow too to add to the element of and the aura of this game. It's going to be a fun one, man. It's do or die from this point on for both of these teams. And hey, at the end of the day, like both these teams are in the dance, and that's really all you can hope for. Only 14 teams can say that, and we'll see what comes out, who comes out on the other side on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's interesting because before the season started, you had one team in the Bears who had gone through a terrible season the year prior, mismanagement from coaching all the way up to the GM, struggling to find, the proper talent. Coach gets fired after the debacle that was a Thanksgiving Day game. You really had nothing left to play for. You go into that final week of the season against the Packers, where a lot of people wrote the Bears off, that it was just going to be the Packers going to, they're in Lambeau, they're going to beat the Bears, go on to the playoffs and do what they do. The Bears ended up winning that game by a field goal. And, momentum in football is a tricky thing, right? And you wouldn't think that a end of the season game in January 2025 would really carry over into this season. But then you have the Bears who go out and get the hottest coaching prospect there was in Ben Johnson. And he goes and builds himself a nice staff. You pick up a couple guys this offseason, rebuild the entire center of your offensive line. And then, there's a lot of hope going into this season. Whereas the Packers at the end of the year, obviously they lost in the playoffs, but they go out and make big boy moves this offseason. So, trading for Micah Parsons. I know that he gets injured, which is unfortunate. But these two teams are kind of on this weird trajectory where one is sitting up here in the Packers, where when you got Micah, it was Super Bowl or bust type of mentality. And the Bears are down here just kind of riding, house money. I'm interested from your point of view, you cover the Packers. What's the vibe up there going into this game in terms of, is it nervous? Is it confidence? Where are the Packers kind of sitting right now?
Well, I'll take you back just a few months ago when they made the trade for Micah Parsons. It was Super Bowl or bust. Like, you don't make that trade and give up the first round draft picks you do if you don't have Super Bowl aspirations. And as the course of the season goes on, there's going to be injuries for this Packers team. They've just been, just riddled with injury. You go to Tucker Kraft, which is a huge part of their offense. He was the leading receiver and the focal point of the offense at the time. They go through a little lapse and then they find their way. And then you lose Micah Parsons. And ever since then, the Packers haven't been in the win column. So heading into this game, I mean, momentum's a real thing. This team has been losers in 4 in a row, right? And talking to the guys in the locker room, it's one thing to say it, right? Like everybody has a clean slate. That's kind of like coach and player speak.
Right.
But I really think that these players believe that like whatever is in the past stays in the past. And both of these teams have a shot to win. They could also, both of these teams are in an interesting spot because they can beat any team in the NFC right now, but they can also be beat by any
Right.
team in the NFC. If there was one year for whatever team to go on a run, right, whether that's the Packers or Bears, like this might be the year because there is no clear favorite for the Packers. I mean, you'd be a fool not to think that this fan base and everybody in Titletown and affiliated with the Packers wants to beat Ben Johnson with all the talk he said about Matt LaFleur earlier in the season, and to end what the Bears one of their best seasons in the last decade, right? In Soldier Field, the same place that Green Bay walked out victorious in 2010 in the NFC Championship game. And it's a rivalry that the Packers have owned, but for the Bears' sake, like all you need is a quarterback and a head coach, and you got a chance. And
Right.
that's what the Bears have right now. So whoever wins, I don't know. But for the Packers, like you lose 5 in a row, you lose out, and things get a little interesting in the offseason.
And you know what? That brings me to a question that I have. I was going to ask it a little bit later, but you and I are both active on social media. We see the talk. You, especially covering the team, I'm sure hear about this crazy narrative that if Matt LaFleur doesn't beat the Bears, is he on the hot seat? Is that a thing up there? Are they looking at it that way, or is that just online internet trolls looking for something to talk about?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, I'm not prone to or privy to all these conversations that happen behind closed doors, but the Packers are in an interesting spot with Matt LaFleur. Sure, they've won a lot of regular season games, right? They've been to the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 years with Matt LaFleur at the helm. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, it's a results based oriented league. Like you don't get you don't get a trophy for the regular season,
Right.
right? For a place called Titletown to be the seventh seed the last 3 seasons, and if you go back 4 seasons ago, they missed the playoffs. And you look at their endings, like the end of season losses that Matt LaFleur has endured. It's been pretty brutal.
Yep.
So can he win the big game? I don't know. That's a conversation that Ed Policy, the new president and CEO, because remember the Packers don't have an owner, so
Right.
that's going to be the first big decision that he has this offseason is what kind of football team he has in front of him and what leader he wants. Is it Matt LaFleur? I don't know. It sounds like he'll be back, and I'm sure he will. But look, I mean, Mike Holmgren, when he was here in the '90s, he spent 7 years here. He went to 2 Super Bowls and won one. Mike McCarthy, within his first 5 years, went to a Super Bowl, won one. Did he go back? No, but he won one.
Right.
Um, if he doesn't, that'll be 7 years without a Super Bowl. And for a place called Titletown, it's not seventh round town. It's not wild card
Right.
round
Right.
town. It's Titletown. So who knows what happens? But I think Matt LaFleur is a really smart guy. I think he's a really smart coach. He's one of the younger prospects in football where he would get hired the next day.
Right.
But if the Packers choose to move on from him, like the sun will come up tomorrow, right? And for the Packers' sake, like they'll find somebody. And sometimes things come, just run its course, and it's nobody's fault. But I expect he'll be back. I think at the end of the day, the Packers will give him another extension, but we'll see.
I know it's kind of crazy, and I don't want to have to defend the Packers or Matt LaFleur, but the injuries that the Packers have sustained this
Right.
year are some that not many teams can overcome, and coming from a Bears fan, the Bears fired Lovie Smith after a 10-7 season, and it's been a train wreck ever since up until this point. We had the pop up with Matt Nagy and the double doink, but that team didn't really feel sustainable. It was Mitch just wasn't on that caliber. Those games that they were winning was strictly because of the defense. But this year, this Bears team kind of feels different, and in the rivalry back and forth in the 2 games that they've played already, it's crazy to think that the Bears haven't led at all in either of these 2 games, except for the overtime touchdown to put them ahead at the end of that game. They haven't led any spot in this rivalry over this season. there was a lot of talk after the last game about dirty players, dirty play, dirty hits, all this stuff. Do you think that's just fans blowing it overboard,
Yeah.
or is because like I know with the Jordan Love hit that led to the concussion, I live up here, so you hear about it as a Bears fan. Oh, your team's dirty. It's this and that. I don't think it was a malicious hit. I think it was just two guys, one dropping his head to protect himself. One guy was already making the play. Do you think it's a situation where if you're either of these two teams, if you go in there with that mindset, like, hey, we're coming, we're gonna hit you, we're gonna hurt you, being overamped, I think that's a detriment to both of these teams if they go in thinking that way.
Totally. I mean, anytime you're an NFL player, I mean, there's that respect to the other team too, that like, hey, they're one of the same, right? Like you're not going out there to hurt players. You're there to play football. And things happen. It's a violent game. If you look at Jordan Love's hit, like he kind of ducked his helmet down a little bit, and that's kind of what forced it. I'm not sticking up for the Bears or I'm not sticking up for the Packers, but it was the kind of reality of it. What you want to see at the end of the day is two teams playing some good football and it coming down to the last minute and who can win in the big moment, right? And I think you add the fan base and the most historic rivalry in all of football onto it. Sure, it's going to get heated and it's going to be a hostile environment, but no, these teams don't want to hurt each other, right? Like the fan base might say what they want to say, but these players want to keep each other up, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're all brothers chasing the same goal.
Right. And nobody wants to see a guy get hurt. I know when Micah got hurt, there was a lot of Bears fans, and it's usually the loud minority that get all the attention online. But I'm one of those fans that I would rather face the Packers at full strength. If we lose, we lose. But I want my team to be good enough to go up against your best. And it always seems like this year specifically, the Bears have had this, oh, well, this player was hurt or that player was hurt. And it gets frustrating as a fan because you're like, well, look at this team and look at the run they made this year. 11 victories after a season of 5. You were projected to win 7 games this year with a new head coach. So you've shattered expectations. And now you're in the wild card round against your arch rival in the Green Bay Packers. And there's a lot of people. I listen to ESPN 1000 all the time. It's Chicago ESPN. I know there's the Milwaukee station as well. But on Tuesday, one of the hosts said that, if the Bears lose to the Packers on Saturday, everything that happened this season is a complete waste and it was a failure and all that stuff. And while I live on the notion, like, if you don't win a championship, you didn't have a successful season. But when you look at it, like you talked about the Packers in terms of title town, right? The Bears don't have those expectations every year. So to come out when you're projected to win 7 games, you win 11, win the NFC North, and there's that hope that the coach and quarterback are the two guys that are going to carry this franchise forward. Do you see it from the Packers' point of view? If the Bears were to win, is it more detrimental to the Packers if they lose to the Bears or if the Bears lose to the Packers?
I think it's a big win for the Bears, right? Because if you go back to that 2010 NFC Championship game, if you look at the stats, the Bears have only beaten the Packers 5 times since that game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
5-25. You end the Packers season and the division totally flips around, right? Because the last few years it's been the Vikings, Detroit, and Green Bay right there.
Right.
This year, it's the Bears and Packers. And the NFC North is the second division in NFL history that all teams finished above 500, which is remarkable. But I think this rivalry is as good as it is right now. And if the Bears end up coming out on top, I think it's more detrimental for the Bears to win this one, to say, hey, we're here, right? We might be a year ahead of schedule, but we're here. And I think that goes a long way for belief, buy-in, rallying around a team. And I think that could really change and make this NFC North even harder going forward,
Yeah. It reminds me a lot. you're a Cubs fan. In 2015, when the Cubs made it to the playoffs, they played the Cardinals.
Mhm.
And at that time, the Cardinals had been known as the Cubs' biggest rival. They couldn't get past the Cardinals. And then they go and they beat the Cardinals to advance in the playoffs. Yeah, sure, the Bears ended up losing, or sorry, the Cubs ended up losing later in those playoffs. But then that following year, you come back as this team that, okay, well, what's stopping you from being the World Series champion? And I think it can kind of play out that way for the Bears in terms of you've been the little brother in this rivalry for I'm what 35 and I don't remember a Bears team being good against the Packers. So for 30 years you've been the nail and the Packers have been the hammer, and you have this opportunity to go out there, avenge that loss from 2010 when, sure, Cutler got hurt and this happened, but you still lost that game. That was kind of the Aaron Rodgers propulsion. They go, they win the Super Bowl, and then it's we own you from there on out. And I think if you're the Bears and you're able to take this game at home and advance in the playoffs, like you said, it kind of shifts the balance of the NFC North, where when the Lions did it that one year when they had nothing to play for, right? And then they beat the Packers and kept the Packers out. They kind of propelled themselves into this next tier of teams. Do you think that this is a situation where if the Bears win, are they kind of the upper crust of this NFC North? I know all the teams are good, but I look at the team and I still see a team with a few flaws, whereas I see the Packers and I see if they're healthy that this team could be as good as any other team.
I think this is division. I mean, any given year, anybody can win, right? I think a win would definitely give you confidence as if you're a fan and the front office that we can have sustained success and compete with the best of the best. And I think their body of work this year has proven that. But yeah, I mean, a win definitely for the Bears shows that they're here and that they can compete. And this is a new era of Chicago football, which for people like yourself have been wanting for years. And now you got the head coach that you wanted, that you dreamed of, and he put together this team and this resume that it doesn't seem like it's going to go down. It's only going to go up from here.
Right. Is that the vibe within the organization of the Packers too? Is like, okay, the Bears for the longest time, they'll have this pop-up season, but does this seem more sustainable from the outside looking in terms of what the Chicago Bears have built going forward?
Yeah, I mean, talking to some players too, like we asked them about this Bears team and did they come out of nowhere? And they're like, last year they were pretty good too. Like, they beat us in the regular season finale. So they knew that you guys were going to be good. And I think both organizations probably relish the opportunity for this rivalry to be, because at the end of the day, like football and sports are better when the rivals are good too, right?
Right.
Um, and I think that's what the position that these two franchises are in right now.
So now with this game looming on Saturday, Jordan Love's coming back, hasn't played in what 4 weeks with a concussion. He would have been cleared last week, I believe, but they sat him out obviously because they didn't have any. The last game meant nothing to them. What do you see this Packers team coming into Soldier being like? Is it going to be, Jordan Love hasn't played for a month. Is he going to be rusty? Is it going to be a scenario where, they look to run the ball more, or they're going to try to make Jordan Love be the guy that, at times he looks like a top 3 quarterback. At times, he struggles. What type of team do you think the Bears are looking at when they come into Soldier?
It all rides on your quarterback, right? Like what Jordan Love is going to show up. Is it going to be the dude who ran down to Dallas in the wild card in 2023 and put up a near perfect passer rating with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions? Or is it going to be the Philadelphia Eagle Jordan Love we saw last year in the wild card round where he throws 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions? It all rides on the quarterback's shoulders. And you add in the fact that he hasn't played in a few weeks. Yeah, of course, the spotlight is on Jordan Love. The spotlight is on Jordan Love. You only go as far as your starting quarterback can take you. And then from there, it comes down to Josh Jacobs, too, right? Like the Packers offense is so good when they get into play action, right? When
Yeah.
defenses can respect the run game that the Packers pose, it's been non-existent the last 4 or 5 weeks. Large part of that is because Josh Jacobs in that knee has just been banged up, not healthy. He's dealt with swelling on the knee, and it's been an ongoing issue for him to nobody's fault. Josh has
Right.
tried to play through it. It just hasn't been to the extent that he wants to. He didn't play last week. He didn't play, he wasn't getting the snaps the week before. So can he be fully rested, ready to go? We will see. But it all comes down to Jordan Love. And if they can get the play action and the run game just enough that the Bears have to respect it and load the box.
So, and that's the other thing. I don't know if you watched that game, Bears and 49ers a
Oh,
couple weeks ago, right? What
oh
a
yeah.
what a game, right? That's a game where, as a Bears fan, you're like, oh shit, okay, we got an offense that, when it's clicking, can keep up with any offense. But on the flip side of that, since the first Packer game, this defense has really struggled in terms of, like, they just look lost. Jordan Love and the Packers, that running game, when it's going, it's good. The Packers and the Bears are similar in terms of, it's kind of that run defense is suspect, right? And
hmm
the Packers got run all over by the Ravens just a few weeks back. What are the thought, like, because the Bears were a top 3 rushing game in the NFL for a long time, until I believe the last couple weeks. What do you think the Packers are going to be able to do in terms of slowing down the Bears run?
They're gonna have to get home in the backfield. Like they gotta find some pressure, right? It's been a struggle ever since Micah Parsons went down. And I know a lot of people are probably annoyed at the talk of Micah Parsons, but it's a real thing. Like
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
Micah in the fold, it changes everything. Rashawn Gary, look, for somebody who had the contract extension, torn ACL, and he just hasn't been the same player. I like to tell this stat, and it's kind of funny that Shohei Otani has hit more home runs than the last time Rashawn Gary had a sack.
Oh,
Um, it's been and baseball season's been done for 2 months,
yeah,
folks.
yeah,
Rashawn Gary hasn't had a sack since week 9. Um, the Packers have to get pressure. Now they have to rush smart, right? Because you got a dual threat in the backfield, whether that is, Kyle Manungai and your other running back too. But you also have a dual threat quarterback, right, within Caleb Williams.
right,
So you have to rush smart, and you have to hope that the big boys up front can kind of run, stop, and get close the gaps a little bit to stop Chicago from running all over. Because I was looking at the stat sheet, the Bears averaged the most rushing yards per game in the NFC.
yeah,
So you saw what happened against Derrick Henry, right? You saw what the Packers defense tried to do and didn't do against Derrick Henry and got ran all over on their home field. That can't happen in Chicago. And when the defense and when the pass rush isn't getting home, this works hand in hand. You know this. If the pass rush isn't getting home, that allows Caleb Williams 5, 4, 3, whatever, how
right,
many seconds in the pocket to pick the Packers corners, apart, because their corners they're not their strong suit on this
right,
defense. And so it all, like, if this defense isn't getting home for the Packers, well, you better hope your starting quarterback and that offense is going toe to toe with that offense, because I have zero hope and zero faith in this Packers or defense right now that hasn't done anything really. They were in a 3-game stretch from weeks 15, 16, and 17. They were giving up on average 400 yards a game. Like, that can't happen in the playoffs because
right.
everything's under a microscope at this point. And if you don't stop, the two-headed monster in the backfield that the Bears have, and you don't stop Caleb Williams, I mean, this game could get out of hand.
Well, and it's funny because I think the same thing from the Bears side.
But can I interject here?
Yeah,
As bad as the Bears defense is or can look at times, they at least find a way to take the ball away.
right. Yeah, that's it. I was just going to bring that up. So, like, statistically, this Bears defense is one of the bottom third units in football. The only thing that they're the top in is takeaways. So you see it against in that 49ers game, for instance, right? Sure, you got that opening series pick 6, right? But that's not really like a game-changing time for that defense to make a stand. Then you see what happens the rest of the game. When you don't get that turnover, the 49ers walk up the field on you. They have been out time of possession by their by the opposing team, like by 2/3 of time of possession. And when you're a team that requires your offense to like get in a rhythm, when you can't get on the field and you have 7 possessions in an entire game, 6 possessions, that's going to make it even more difficult. And that's where my worry comes in. Is one thing I give the full credit to the Packers did the last time they played is Matt LaFleur used the clock masterfully. That dude had it down. They played so smart with the time. And then I'm sitting there at halftime. I'm like, dude, the Bears have had the ball twice in a whole half. And when you have an offense that is predicated on finding that rhythm or these big explosive plays, and then you don't hit those explosive plays, now you're putting so much pressure on these guys on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm sure the Packers feel it as well, to where, oh man, one time we get stopped, this game could flip completely because our defense just cannot step up when we need them to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so crucial for the Packers to get their run game going, right? Bleed some clock, run a little play action, let Jordan Love cook under center a few times, and just bleed that clock. And you mentioned like the big play or the game changing play. You saw it in what, week 14 when the Bears came to Chicago, or when the Bears came to Lambeau Field. The Bears were in position to possibly win that game or go to overtime, and it was Keyshawn Nixon coming away with the game changing play.
Yep.
The Bears in Soldier Field had the game-changing play, and that was recovering the onside kick.
Yep.
Like, the little things matter in the playoffs, like they do in the regular season, but you at least know you have another game to correct it.
Right, that's the thing, right.
You don't have another game to correct it. So when it comes down to this game, I'm a firm believer it's who's going to make the most impactful plays and which offense is going to expose the other team's defense.
Yep.
That's what it comes down
to. I
agree.
And I think it's going to be – I think this could be one of the better games that we've watched between the Bears and the Packers. The Bears have failed to score a first half point in the last 2 home games. If you go into this game and you don't score a point in the first half, I have a hard time seeing any way that you're in position to win this game. As a Bears fan, a lot of the times it's been beat the Packers. That's your Super Bowl, right? But I don't want the team to have that mentality. I want this to just be, and I know it's going to be hard to do that because it is Bears Packers, but I feel like they need to go out there. They need to, both teams, and just need to be like, okay, it's this team that we're playing. It's not the Bears, not the Packers. Don't get overhyped. How hard is that to differentiate that though going into a game, especially of this magnitude?
It's really interesting because, like, I talked to Xavier McKinney yesterday, and he basically said that they had like a meeting within the locker room, and some of the older guys or veterans or guys who have been there before said, "Look, it's not any bigger of a game, but it is, So we got to keep it the same. We got to treat it the same. But just know that if you don't do X, Y, Z or do your job, you're going to be booking your vacation."
Yep.
You're going to be booking your vacation and watching the NFC, divisional round in Cancun. So I've never been behind the line, between the lines. You've never been between the lines when it comes to this stage. I don't know how these guys do it or like mentally prepare for that, but it is a psychological thing. You can't let the game speed up on you. And that's also not the guys wearing the jerseys. That's on the sidelines too. Like, these coaches have to be smart in these situations. And it's going to be interesting for me, and I'm sure you feel the same sentiment, of what's Ben Johnson going to be like in the playoffs, being the first time in there as the head coach. I don't know. Matt LaFleur has gotten in his way before, go to his second year as the head coach in Green Bay, the NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers. They have a chance to, put some points on the board late in the game. You're down by a touchdown or something like that against the Buccaneers, and they took the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands and kicked the field goal, and that loomed large. And so, as smart as these players have to be, so do the head coaches.
Yeah, and I think people failed to realize, like, the chatter of Matt LaFleur versus Ben Johnson, it's really not. It's because those guys call the offensive plays against the defensive coordinators, right? But in terms of there's other aspects like clock management, like I gave Matt LaFleur all the credit for. A way to beat this Bears team is to not give them the ball, keep that defense on the field, and then score when you get an opportunity. Same thing with Caleb. Jordan Love has been in the playoffs. He's played in big time playoff games. Caleb hasn't in the NFL level. Now he has in college, and he excelled at those moments in college. I think that this game is going to be really interesting in terms of what quarterback comes out on top, because football, the NFL. It's a week to week league. They're shooting Caleb to the top of the charts one week, and then if he comes out and lays an egg in this playoffs, it's going to be he's a bust, he's this, he's that. Who is this game more important for, Jordan Love or Caleb Williams?
Jordan Love. And the only reason why I say Jordan Love is because there's this stigma around social media, sports media, people outside of Green Bay that I would assume hasn't watched a full Packer game, and they just see, the snarky comments or clips of Jordan Love, that he's not a good quarterback, or he's not the franchise guy. Jordan Love's a really good quarterback. And when he turns it on and when he is under center, he's as good as anybody, right? You give him a clean pocket and let the dude work. I think for Jordan Love to come out on Saturday with, I would say the whole world watching, but they put this game on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so stupid.
Prime subscribers watching. If he can go out there and lead the Packers when, let's face it, they're the number 7 seed. They're banged up as much. They're running a 4-game losing streak, and nobody's really counting them in, other than Vegas, a 1-point swing. But nonetheless, like he can make a statement in the NFL that he's one of the best. And the stigma around Jordan Love and why people don't think he's a good quarterback is, I said this to somebody earlier in the season, is because his interceptions in the league, like, they're bad. Like,
yeah, he picks like the worst time.
And that's what people see. But they don't see the moments where he's completing, 18, 19, 20 straight passes against Pittsburgh, against
Right.
the Steelers. For Jordan to just go out there and do what he does, I think is really important for him. And it's important for the Packers too, as they try to get a Lombardi under their belt.
All right, Kyle, this is the final thing I'm going to ask you. All this stuff put into a little bowl here. Who do you think comes out on top at the end of this game on Saturday?
I wish I had a coin in my pocket,
Yeah.
because I've been saying all week, like, you flip a coin, I'd agree with you. I've had no reason to believe that the Packers can win the last few weeks.
Right.
They've given me no reason. They've given me absolutely no reason to believe that they can win. But you play the Bears,
Right.
and like I said earlier in the show, like, it's a winnable game. Now, if you were to ask me who would win against the Packers in Philadelphia, I'd probably say Philadelphia, but it's Packers-Bears. It's anybody's game. You flip a coin, and I'd agree with you right now. But if I had my gut reaction, I'll say Bears, only because of the Packers riding a 4-game losing streak, and that defense has given me no reason to believe that they can just turn it on just like that. Because, I mean, their pass rush is as bad as anybody's right now, and their corners just aren't as good. So I'll say Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won, though. And I'm kind of crazy. I'll leave it at this too. The last time the Packers won was against the Bears.
Yeah.
At Lambeau Field. The last time the Bears won a game was against the Packers at Soldier Field.
Yep.
So
both teams are.
So one of these two teams will get their get back against the one another, and they will be playing in the divisional round. One will be looking into the offseason, wondering what went wrong. But you flip a coin, I agree with you, my man. But I'll go with Bears in this one. I would not be shocked if the Packers can find a way to turn it on.
Yeah, I feel I copy your answer and just flip the two teams. But Kyle, man, I appreciate you taking time, coming on, talk with me. I know we've been trying to make this work for a while, but yeah, it's always good getting to catch up with you and chat, man. I appreciate your time.
Always, brother. Thanks so much for thinking of me, and I'm really happy we got to work this out.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thanks. All right. Well, it's my thought process on this whole Bears Packers thing. You look at a Bears team that realistically to start the season, we as Bears fans were just hoping that it wasn't a train wreck. Because after last year, you had so many of those games. The blocked field goal in Green Bay or in Chicago against the Packers, the blocked field goal from Minnesota, the Hail Mary in Washington. The list just goes on when it comes to mishaps that happened last year. And then you fast forward and you think about where you were as a fan this time last year. You're looking at, oh man, we want the Lions to lose this next round so that the Bears can interview Ben Johnson and who are they going to take in the first round and blah, blah, blah. And it's difficult, at least for me as a fan, to turn off that negative part of my brain when it comes to the skies falling every time something doesn't go right. And I look at this season and I don't think it would be a failure if they lose to Green Bay. The Packers are a better organization for the longest time. They have the experience factor at quarterback and at head coach. Sure, Ben Johnson was an offensive coordinator for some playoff games, but there's a difference between calling offensive plays and having to manage the entire game. I think that this game is the closest any Bears Packer game has been in terms of team versus team, spot versus spot. Both defenses struggle. If you're the Bears and you come out like you did against the Lions in the first half last week, you're going to lose this game. It's that simple. You can't go scoreless in the first half in a playoff game and hope to win. Has it been done? I'm sure it has. But you rode high on this offense all year, and your offense and Caleb Williams have stepped up in big spots, especially late game. 6 come from behind victories in the fourth quarter when trailing. You've done it all year. That's what you're known for. Most in the NFL, in the history of the NFL, 6 games. The reason it's the most in the NFL is because it's very hard to do. And you have a defense that, unfortunately, up until the last couple of weeks was bend, don't break. But you see it the last 2 weeks that they've broken. And you can't allow the Packers to dictate policy in terms of time of possession. Because once you get into a situation where you're down and you have to catch up, now your whole game plan goes out the window. The Bears averaged 5 yards a carry versus the Green Bay Packers in the last game that they had. And they had to get away from that because they were trailing. You need to go into this game, and what you need to do what you should have done the last time you were in Soldier Field, and that is go and punch the Packers in the mouth at the defensive line. Show them that you have the muscle to run the ball, and let your running game open up the passing game. I know everybody wants to see Caleb and him be flashy and all this stuff, but it ain't about stats and looking great. It's about winning when you get into the playoffs. And if you're a team like the Bears, who are kind of playing with house money, but why not win? You're looking at a team that, like Kyle said, the NFC, it's kind of wide open. Yeah, Seattle's that maybe that one team that's going to be so difficult to beat. But if you look at every single team in the NFC, all these teams are flawed. They have a flaw somewhere. And it's just going to come down to whose flaws shine out the most in crucial parts. And
Packers suck.
the Packers suck. But I appreciate you guys all tuning in. It was awesome to see so many people watching live. Thank you, Kyle, for jumping on with me. I think the Bears on Saturday, if I had to predict an outcome, the fan in me says the Bears find a way to win this game. This team's just different this year. Now, you go out and you play like you did against Detroit. I'm going to be pissed off when you lose the game. But I'm also going to understand that the season was about, I said in the beginning of the year, what I want to see is Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams being able to coexist and Caleb taking that next step. And I think they've done that. And anything at this point is just gravy on top. And we are looking at a quarterback that Bears fans haven't seen before in their lifetime. Caleb's breaking records in his second year. You're looking at a team that many years before this, those moments in the late games when they're trailing, you knew the game was over. Now, realistically, if there's a second or two left on the clock, anything could happen. And I think the Bears find a way to pull this game out. It wouldn't be surprising if it's like, 27-21 Bears, 27-24 Bears, something like that. But I just want them to look competent and look like they belong. Because if they go out there and they just get punked and they don't look like, they're lifeless and they look like they're just there, then I will be disappointed because I think this team is better than that type of a performance. So we'll see, what happens Saturday night. And yeah, I'll be on my couch stressing, watching this game. Like Kyle said, it's different when it's, okay, we messed up this week, but we can fix it next week. Playoffs are a whole different beast. It's one and done. You mess up, that's it. It's over. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the narrative of what happens with either outcome of this game on how the NFL landscape looks at each of these teams going forward. But yeah, I'm excited. Bears haven't been in the playoffs often, so I'm going to enjoy this ride, and I'm not going to, I might be on social, just going nuts during the game. But that's what being a fan is all about, man. It's having that heart and living and dying by each possession, each play. And you live these moments with your team, and it's some of the best roller coaster I'll ever ride is riding the ups and the downs of being a Chicago sports fan. But thank you guys for tuning in. Up in this little corner right here, they added this new feature where you scan that, it'll take you right to our YouTube page. Go ahead, follow us on YouTube, set that reminder so every time we go live, you see us. And we will hopefully, when we're back, we're talking about Bears advancing in the playoffs this year.
The Bears.